my channel for a good old-fashioned book haul. So today, as you've guessed, I'm just going to be sharing with you the books that I have picked up since my last book haul that I've been sent by publishers and which were gifted to me for my birthday, because it was my birthday about a fortnight ago when I think you're seeing this video, the 23rd of March, and I was very, very lucky to receive some bookish gifts. I also did that thing that, let's be honest, we all do, where you sort of buy yourself some birthday gifts and you use your birthday as a bit of an excuse, so bought some more books. And then I was sent a couple by publishers. So basically I just wanted to share them with you here so I could finally take them off the book trolley and pop them into their spaces on the bookcases and chat a little bit more about them with you all before I read them. So yeah, let's have a look at the books, shall we? So I have 4 books here that were birthday gifts, so I'll start with them. And the first 2 were actually gifts from my absolutely incredible friend Jen over at Jen V Campbell. She always picks me the most phenomenal books. Like, whenever Jen picks me a book, I know it's going to be amazing and I get super duper excited, so the fact that she sent me 2 has me all the more excited. And the first one is actually a children's picture book which looks absolutely stunning. I mean, just based on the illustrations of the front here, and Jen knows I'm a great appreciator of children's books, we're both children's authors, and I also appreciate beautiful art and illustrations in my literature. So this is the opening spread here and it's just stunning. It's called Witch Fairy by Brigitte Mini and Carl Newt. It's originally written in German, so it's translated by Laura Watkinson into English. And let me just read you the back, because as soon as I opened this up I was ecstatic. Just sounds wonderful. It says, fairies always had to be sweet and neat. They ate cake without making crumbs, they drank tea without spilling a drop, and they never had spots or specks on their dresses. They told only the sweetest stories with their honeyed voices, and now and then they waved their magic wands around. Rosemary thought fairies were really dull, and the worst thing was that she was a fairy herself. Absolutely love the title, the illustrations, and the sound of this book, so I'm probably just going to sit myself down tonight with a cup of tea and read this one in one sitting, because it is a children's book and they are speedy for us adults, but also, you know, hold a lot of value, I think, so for adults. So that was the first present Jen sent me, and then she also spoiled me and sent me a graphic novel. This is the Oracle Code, and it's actually a DC comic book / graphic novel, but it's not embedded in a series like Superman or Batman, and is part of, I think, instead a series of graphic novels that DC are bringing out about younger, like, heroes or supernatural beings in the DC universe, and you don't need to know anything about the other superheroes or supervillains to understand and follow them, is what I'm trying to get at. You can just read them independently. I've actually read one from the series before quite a while back, which I enjoyed, but this one in particular sounds really interesting. And again, it was picked for me by Jen, so I very much trust her opinion. And it's specifically about Barbara, who was actually involved in a shooting which left her paralysed in her legs, I believe, and she's in a rehabilitation centre going through like a lot of like trauma and therapy rehabilitation, but she ends up feeling as if something is amiss at this centre and something sinister is going on, but she's not sure to what extent that is her trauma and paranoia stemming from her trauma, so she decides to investigate. Then the next books are actually a little bit different, because neither of them are straightforward books. I mean, I suppose those were children's books and graphic novels, so neither were they, but the first one is a gin cocktail book, and this was a very, very thoughtful present from my friends Leanne and Harry. Leanne over at Literary Diversions and their spouse Harry, and it's Around the World in 80 Cocktails by Chad Parkill with illustrations by Alice Orr. And this is just absolutely perfect for me, because not only do I love a cocktail, but my partner and I, Chris, for the past year and a half now, have been undertaking a project in which we're trying to eat a meal from every country in the world. It's slow going, it's not something we've got a deadline to complete by. I don't even think we've quite reached 30 countries yet, but it's been a lot of fun and we've discovered some of our absolute new favourite meals through this project. They all have to be vegetarian, some we find in cookbooks, some friends recommend to us, some we just Google for, and we've done countries across the continent, I think, apart from Oceania. We've done recipes from countries in Africa, Asia, Europe, North America and South America, but not Oceania. And sometimes, along with those meals, we also like to do a traditional drink or cocktail from that country, or even a dessert. So, given that this is 80 cocktails from around the world and it includes various different countries, I mean, here we have one from Japan, it should be absolutely perfect to accompany our little venture. Then we have one from Greece. We have one in Spain. Let me see if I can find one from a country we haven't done yet. We haven't done Portugal, and this is a Portuguese cocktail, so we could totally have this to go alongside our meal when we do Portuguese food. Let me know if you know of any good vegetarian Portuguese recipes that we should check out, and I can pair it with the cocktail. So yeah, I'm really excited about that one. I love cocktail books and cookbooks. I love cocktail books and cookbooks because although you can obviously Google these things, it's just really nice to have them in your house and be able to like analog pour over them and flick through them and randomly discover things and then make notes and keep tabs on them. Then lastly, for birthday gifts, I actually have a magazine, and this was a gift from a very good family friend, Annie, and she just finds the most niche, thoughtful gifts every year. I'm always astounded by things that Annie manages to find, and this one is actually a board game magazine, which, oh, it's so exciting. It's called Senate. I literally never heard of it before. I don't know where she found it, but she ordered in the most recent issue of it, which is issue 17, spring 2022. Board games are beautiful. And I've already had a flick through. I've read some of the reviews and articles, and it's brilliant. Can't wait to read the rest of it. And to be honest, I think Annie may have done me a dirty because I might have to subscribe now. I only have really one other magazine which I pick up regularly, and that is which is a folk horror magazine that I really love and have talked about in the past. So I don't think there's anything wrong with having two magazines, especially when they don't come out monthly. And like I said, this one's all about board games. You know I'm massively into board games. It has board game reviews, it has board game discussions, it has articles on gameplay, it has features for new games, and look at the art in some of these games. It's absolutely incredibly stunning. Love all of the illustrations in the actual magazine, and I love it. I love just having something that I guess you could subscribe to on Instagram, and I do follow a lot of board game Instagram accounts. My boyfriend and I even run our own Instagram account for board games, but it is nice to have that analog feeling of sitting down with a cup of tea and just reading your magazine. It's a really nice way to experience things and find new things. So love this, so pleased with it. Can't believe Annie found it. We then come on to the books I bought myself as a bit of a birthday treat. Well, some of them were birthday treats, some of them, like, I didn't even have that in my mind, so I won't pretend. Let's talk about the ones that I was thinking, hey, it's my birthday, I'm gonna buy some books for. The first of which is actually a cookbook. So this is the Veggie Chinese Takeaway Cookbook by Kwok Wan, and this is, I mean, pretty self-explanatory. It's a vegetarian cookbook with a leaning towards the kind of easy takeaway style food, which I think is a really fun idea. And I have been tempted to pick up Chinese cookbooks in the past, but I've found it very difficult to find vegetarian Chinese cookbooks, and although I do own cookbooks which aren't entirely vegetarian, I like cookbooks which have like at least 50% vegetarian meals and meals I can turn vegetarian. So this is obviously brilliant for me, and I've wanted it for ages. Like, I've been looking at this every time I go into Waterstones for well over a year now, and I finally bit the bullet and treated myself, like I said, for my birthday. These are just some like little sides you can see there. We've got some nice tofu dishes. I'm a tofu fanatic. More tofu, not a bad thing at all. We've got some nice tempeh, which looks really tasty there. Some rice dishes, some noodle dishes, loads of things, but stuff that all looks relatively easy. A lot of it looks quite quick as well, which suits me if I'm making meals for myself, and I'm really looking forward to cooking from it. I only received it in the post like a couple of days ago, so I haven't had a chance yet. And then also for my own birthday, I picked myself up 2 comic books. I'm now realising there's like a sticky mark on this one. Did not notice that. Ugh, I'll scrape it off later. I picked up these 2 graphic novels which are by Kay O'Neill, and they are children's graphic novels, but they're very much the kind of graphic novels that any age can enjoy. The first one is actually the sequel to the Tea Dragon Society, which is the Tea Dragon Festival. I own and have read the Tea Dragon Society. I've actually read it twice because I really love it, and I most recently read it again last month so that I could have it fresh in my mind for picking this up, and I want to read this in the next few days. It is truly stunning. It's about these little dragons which grow tea leaves from their heads, and when you pluck the little tea leaves and brew teas with their tea leaves, it lets you experience the memories of those tea dragons and the places that you've been with the tea dragons, and that's what some of them look like. They're the cutest little beings. Like, it's the most beautiful concept, and it's full of so much love and diversity and found family and kindness, and it's beautiful. So I also thought, hey, let's try another of Kay O'Neill's books. I've also read Aquacorn Cove, but I haven't read Princess Ever After, which I believe is a sapphic royal romance for children, which I love and I'm excited to experience. For context, these are the illustrations in this one, but they're both written and illustrated by Kay O'Neill. Then I have 5 books which I literally just picked up on whims. The first 2 of which I kind of had to buy. Well, I felt like I had to buy a book because I visited the latest bookshop to make its way to Edinburgh, which is Argonaut Books. So this new bookshop is located at the bottom of Leith Walk in Edinburgh, and it's an independently owned bookshop. It's really, really beautiful, really widely, airily spaced, very accessible, with an interesting selection. And 2 books I discovered that I'd never seen before are actually part of the Penguin Classics Green Ideas series, which I didn't know existed. So I knew that Penguin Classics had a Great Ideas series where they published essays and stories by different authors throughout the ages, but this one is specifically focused on the environment and green ideas, and these are 2 that I thought sounded really, really interesting. So the first one I have here is by Wangari Maathai, and that is The World We Once Lived In. I'll just read you the back because that's what sold me. It reads, "From the Congo Basin to the traditions of the Kikuyu people, these lucid, incisive writings explore the sacred power of trees and why humans lay waste to the forests that keep us alive." So this sounds like it's going to deal with both our connectivity to trees but also the issues of deforestation. So really looking forward to reading this. Very short as well, so want to get to it ASAP. And then we have by Tim Flannery, A Warning from the Golden Toad. Not gonna lie, literally picked this one up because it mentions toads. There's not much else I can say other than that. Love toads, that's the reason I picked it off the shelf and then read the back and thought it sounded interesting. It says, taking us on an extraordinary journey into the past and around the globe, from coral reefs to the North Pole, deserts to the rainforest, Tim Flannery tells the story of the Earth's climate and how we have changed it. Despite their lack of reference in the blurb, I'm hoping there will also be toads referenced, but these sound really interesting and I love the whole series idea. I'll have to check out more of them. We then have another non-fiction book which I picked up in Typewronger, which is a bookshop at the top of Leith Walk. You can actually see Typewronger in my bookshop tour of Edinburgh's Newtown, which I'll link down below. But it's a lovely little space which also specialises in typewriter repairs. So in there I picked up Witches, Witch Hunting and Women by Silvia Federici. Now I've always meant to read something by Silvia Federici. My mum's mentioned her quite a few times because she's a bit of a staple in like feminist non-fiction and she's been around for quite a few decades. And this is very much a book about like modern day witch hunts in the sense of persecution of women by society in different places, by different people, and I don't know much else other than that, but I thought it sounded very relevant, very important, and like I said, I've always meant to read this author, so I thought I'd give it a go. Then I have 2 fiction books which I picked up in the Waterstones buy one get one half price deal. So I'm a sucker for a book deal, and when I saw that they had The Galaxy and the Ground Within by Becky Chambers, I knew I had to pick it up because I love The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet like nothing else. It's one of my favourite books of all time. I still haven't read the rest in the series, however I do own books 2 and 3, and I've been waiting for book 4, the final book, to come out in paperback. So now I own the series. I have no excuse any longer. I must read the rest of them, but I wanted to pick up whilst it was on offer and decided to do so. This is a real like hopeful, hope punk, like heartwarming, found family, LGBTQ plus sci-fi series which follows different characters in each book and is set in outer space. But then of course, because it was an offer and I would get a second book half price if I bought this one, I had to pick something else up, and I went for The Shadow in the Glass by J.J.A. Harwood, which I'd never heard of, but it's described on the front as a gothic twist on Cinderella, and that just sounded brilliant. So I thought, hey, I'll give it a shot. I'll pick up a like random outlier that I hadn't heard of before. It's about Ella, who is a maid, and she is forced to work hard under the unforgiving and lecherous gaze of the man she once called stepfather. Her only refuge being in books, she reads by candlelight, secreted away in the library she isn't permitted to enter. One night, however, among her beloved books of far-off lands, Ella's wishes are answered. At the stroke of midnight, a fairy godmother makes her an offer that will change her life. 7 wishes, hers to make as she pleases, but each wish comes at a price, and Ella must decide whether it's one she's willing to pay. I love dark twists on fairy tales, not that the originals weren't dark, but like new dark versions, and particularly ones that make like social commentary and perhaps like put a feminist spin on fairy tales, which I'm hoping this one does. But those are all the books I bought myself. I do however have 2 books which I was sent by publishers, both of which I was sent by Pan Macmillan, and the first of which is a proof copy of a new thriller which comes out in August, and it's called Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney, so the title is here. I love this proof copy, but this one is set on the eve of Halloween. It follows Daisy Darker, who arrives at Seaglass, a crumbling Cornish house perched upon its own tiny private island, to celebrate her grandmother's 18th birthday. That's not right, 80th, can't read, 80th birthday. Her eccentric Nana believes this will be her very last birthday and has gathered her family to hear her final will. The Darkers haven't all been in the same place for over a decade. When the tide comes in, they'll be cut off from the rest of the world for 8 hours, and when it goes out, they'll never all be together again. I think this one is a bit of a and then there were none type concept, so I'm looking forward to that. I love a sort of like closed location thriller. And then I was sent a copy of The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake, which sounds so blooming brilliant. I've heard such good things about this book. There's been a ton of hype around it, and the sequel comes out in a few months. It was a book that I think was originally self-published but then got so popular that it was picked up by traditional publishing, and like I said, I've just heard amazing things. I can't wait to read it. It's a sort of like dark academia type fantasy, I think. It's about a group of young magicians who have the possibility of joining the secretive Alexandrian society, whose custodians guard lost knowledge from ancient civilizations. Their members enjoy a lifetime of power and prestige, yet each decade only 6 practitioners are invited to fill 5 places, and this is about the young people trying to join. I think there's also a bit of like angsty romance and, like I said, mystery in this one, so yeah, looking forward to learning what the hype is about. But that brings me to the end of this book haul. Those are all the books I've amassed since my last book haul, and I hope you enjoyed hearing about them all. I would love to hear from you if you're interested in any of them, and like I mentioned before, if you've got any recipe recommendations or cookbook recommendations. But yeah, until next time, happy reading, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye everyone.